Welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to join us in talking about the new features of SharePoint 2013 and how you can manage contracts with the platform. To kick things off, I just wanted to kind of go over a high-level agenda for the webinar. We'll cover a bit of an overview both of Talon, the products and solutions we develop, and then we'll dive right into the webcast series. As you all know, there are actually 2 sessions to this webcast series. This is the first one. Then we'll talk more about contract management and how you can leverage SharePoint and Office tools to manage the life cycle of contracts in your organization. We'll go through a live demo and then end it up with some Q&A. Just to put a face to the voice, my name is Reddy Kadasani. That's my picture there. I'm the practice director of the Portals and Collaboration practice at Talon. And essentially, I'm responsible for delivering portal projects on the SharePoint platform. I'm also responsible for architecture and overall portal strategy for our clients. So to start off with a high-level overview of what Talon does and our products and solutions on the Portals and Collaboration practice, we are actually developing a product called the Talon Blueprint, which is basically taking all the components and our experience through the years developing solutions on SharePoint to provide an approach to our clients to give them the best digital workplace experience for their employees. What we feel is that developing portals from scratch on the SharePoint platform can be very expensive, and in order to provide the practices and approaches that we've used in the past and to componentize that and deliver them as solutions to our clients gives us a valuable step up as opposed to our competition, and also provides a low-cost, fast time-to-market alternative for our clients. So I wanted to kind of take the opportunity here to give you a very brief overview of what the Talon Blueprint is and how we approach developing portals, whether they be intranets, extranets, or portions of business applications. In this case, what we're going to talk about today is contract management, and the next session is going to be on policy management, but I'll give you a brief overview of the other solutions that we develop as well on the Microsoft stack. So to start off with, any intranet or extranet portal, in fact, any portal for that matter of fact, the front and center piece of a portal is the home page. So our blueprint approach is to actually standardize the way we develop the home page by incorporating some really important aspects for the user. For instance, a quick access to bookmarks and tools, whether they are internal to SharePoint or stored outside of SharePoint. Important announcements. So this is a top-down approach to communication where your HR or marketing communication department kind of sends out these notifications in the form of news or articles. And it's a great way for employees to keep up with what's going on around in the organization. But in addition to the bookmarks and announcements, the other aspects of the portal, the central piece that you see over here, is all driven through the user context. So, for instance, the working files, the files you've modified, checked out, or created. This is where you access them, right in the home page. You'll also see other aspects of this home page that are user context driven. For instance, the top web part there that says Project Dashboard, that's a list of all the projects or workspaces that you're a member of or you're part of. And the shared activities and events provides you with the ability to collaborate with others in the organization. You also have a custom application section down below where you can actually add links to your favorite applications. Again, these applications might be within SharePoint or outside of SharePoint. The other important aspect of a portal is navigation. There have been umpteen number of times when I hear clients say, well, I don't know where I am in the portal, or I don't know how to get back to where I was from where I am right now. So the idea here is to actually provide a unified navigation no matter where you go, and trimming down that navigation so that it makes more sense to the user. So think about it as a functional navigation rather than a structural navigation. So this is where you go to find links to your project sites, your workspaces, your documents, your applications, or even be able to find people. So another important question then comes up is, how do I kind of sift through all these links that are in my mega menu? And so what we also provide is a navigation search where you can trim down your navigation elements by searching within that navigation. The other aspect is search, and it's okay to store information in SharePoint, but if you cannot actually retrieve that information in a timely fashion, in a relevant fashion, then it doesn't actually help anyone. So the idea here is to actually include search, but include it in a way that the user doesn't have to go to another place to actually perform a search, but actually performs a search in an inline search widget. So you just type in a keyword, whether it be a person's name, the expertise based on their profile, your project name, documents, whatever it is, you type that in and you get an inline search without leaving your home page. A panel pops out, gives you the search results, and then also provides you with custom refiners. And these custom filters or refiners are actually driven through metadata that's stored with the content. So it's relevant to the content you store, it's relevant to your business, and it actually makes sense when you filter through your content and get to the results that you're looking for. In all honesty, nobody goes past the first page of a result set, so the importance of refiners cannot be undermined. And then come to the point of, you get away from the home page and try to do your work, and this is where really the whole collaboration comes, the collaboration features of SharePoint really shine. This is the area where your teams come together in either very structured formats like projects where there's a start and end date, or in more ad hoc organic fashion where groups of people get together on an initiative or a research project, or just to form maybe an informal social group. And the idea again is not to just include social in your portals just for including social, but actually including social to help better collaboration or better communication. So there have been so many instances where you send an email to everybody on your team, irrespective of whether you want to send an email to everybody on your team. You feel almost obligated to carbon copy everybody on that email. So instead of that, you can use things like microblogging to actually target people, target messages to people and communicate with them. Another important aspect around projects is to be able to quickly see through KPIs how you're doing on your projects. So we actually include that as part of our project site templates, a high-level project metrics of how you're doing on your projects, the overall scope, schedule, and so on. Plus, you also have visibility into issues and track those issues by putting them front and center on your project sites. Without documents, of course, no project moves forward, so this includes your project plans, your design specifications, other kinds of project artifacts that are being created through meeting minutes and so on and so forth, and they all have a place on your project portal and on the landing page where you go. So this is a portal where important information is front and center on the landing page, and then if you get down to actually working through on your projects, creating documents and so on and so forth, you then get to the document libraries and lists and subsites that you're all familiar with SharePoint. So I kind of mentioned about enterprise business solutions in the beginning of the webinar. So apart from actually creating intranet and extranet solutions, we also help our clients develop specific business solutions to help manage things like policies and procedures. Certain organizations, this is very important, like financial organizations, banks, even government, where policies are not driven just by internal company policies and procedures, but actually by outside organizations as well. And companies get audited on how the standard operating procedures are being created from these policies. So you want to know, if people have read the policies and procedures, you want to know if they understand them, and you want to be able to audit and track that progress. And you also want to have some business insight in terms of reporting to see how well you're doing in terms of compliance. Another aspect that we're going to talk about today is contract management, and it's all around, every organization has contracts, and contracts, the main heart of contracts is all these dates that contracts go by, effective dates, renewal dates, and so on and so forth. So how do you track those, and then how do you automate the business processes around those contracts to be able to better manage them? And then, you create all this content through the years, through the months and years, but then what do you do with that content, right? What remains in your system? What is deleted? What is archived? What becomes records so that they can be retrieved later on and managed with special rules? How do you create your file plans and so on? And it also has effects on e-discovery and legal ramifications as well. So we also help our clients figure the processes behind records management. And then last but not least is project management. We talked a little bit about that in the previous screen, where we have special templates to be able to manage your projects and have a very high level insight into how your projects are doing, and be able to store not only content but be able to collaborate with other team members. I wanted to then move over into the webcast itself. The webcast series does not really talk about the intranet and extranet components that we develop, but specifically around contract management and policy procedure management. So today's webinar is concentrated on contract management, and the next webinar on April 7th, we're going to walk through in a similar fashion of how you can use policy and procedure, the package or components to actually, in SharePoint, to manage those artifacts. Getting to the contract lifecycle, so I hope everyone is familiar with, the contract lifecycle, but just to kind of set the stage here, in order to manage contracts, you're not just managing documents. You have to manage the contract entities, whether it be customers, vendors, suppliers, and so on. You have to manage clauses depending upon the type of contract you're creating. There are various kinds of clauses that you might have to store and retrieve and use in your documents. Like I said, it's not just about the contract documents, but also supporting documents, like, for instance, proof of insurance, master service agreements, things like that. So the idea here is to be able to create all these artifacts around contracts in one place and be able to manage and administer them from that same portal. So in order to do that, what we've built on SharePoint is actually using the SharePoint building blocks to be able to store contracts. So this is where you store your contract documents themselves and supporting documents. So like I said, the supporting documents could be proof of insurance and things like that, and then you can relate them together so that when you're looking at a contract, you also have an idea of what other documents go with a particular contract. So the storage and retrieval of contracts is very important. and we use document libraries and lists as the content repositories for these artifacts. The other aspect of creating contracts is also to be able to standardize some of these contracts. So not all contracts can be standardized, of course, and some contracts originate from the partner or the end party that you're working with. So your supplier or vendor might have their own templates, so you can't really standardize everything. But we do provide the means to upload contract templates and create contracts from those templates. And also a place to actually create clauses and manage clauses. So the good thing about putting everything in one place, especially around contract templates and clauses, is that you also have the ability to version these documents. So that you see how things progress or how things change, especially around clauses. They change over time, and as your legal department starts creating new contract clauses or updating existing ones, they don't have to lose track of what was existing before. That is actually stored as part of the versioning process in SharePoint, and you can look at previous versions or even revert back to a previous version if you so desire. And then the whole approval process around contracts is important as well. We tried to create a very simple automated approval process around contracts, and we are actually working towards creating a dynamic approval process where you as a user can define where a contract needs to go, which department a contract needs to go. So although contracts may reside with compliance or legal in an organization, really legal in an organization, they actually have to go across that department boundary to actually get executed. So an IT contract, for instance, could go from the IT department to legal to compliance to back to the IT department and so on. A real estate contract might go to finance, legal and compliance, for instance, and so on and so forth. So there is a need here for the process to be more dynamic in the sense of the user defining based on what contract type it is, where it needs to be routed. So we do provide that ability, and we're actually making it a better process. So we'll talk about the roadmap of where we go from here at the end of this webinar, and I'll talk through some of the thought process involved in creating the next roadmap for the contract management solution. As you talk about the approval process, there's going to be tasks that you need to track, reminders that you need to set up, and notifications and alerts that the system needs to generate and let you know that you need to act upon certain things. And that's where the whole task management process comes up. We'll walk through this process and look at various artifacts in terms of how you can keep on top of your tasks and to-dos. What happens when you go out on vacation? So we also provide a way for you to delegate your tasks to someone else in the organization, so that nothing needs to come to standstill when you actually take a few days off from work. So this is the whole area around task delegation, and you can delegate somebody else, but it's all controlled through security, so they also need to be in the same group and permissions as you are. Otherwise, the tasks will get delegated, but they won't be able to work on it. And then the last but not least is actually the decision-making process. So you need to be able to look into your processes, see where the bottlenecks are, and get a high-level view of where you are overall from a contract management perspective. What are your outstanding renewals or upcoming renewals from a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day, 180-day perspective? You need to look at overall, where do you need to provide more resources? Maybe, through that contract approval process, there is a bottleneck area where there are not enough resources to be able to move these contracts along. So looking at and setting up thresholds around how long does it take for a contract to get renewed, or how long does it take for a contract to get executed, or important metrics that you need to keep track of. So part of the whole contract management solution is also being able to provide robust reporting and dashboarding capability. So getting into a little bit more specifics around managing contracts, so we do provide, as you upload your contract or submit your contract, you need to provide some information about that contract. And like I said, contracts revolve around dates. There are things like renewal dates when contracts need come up for renewal, so you need to know when a contract comes up for renewal, get notified, and get notified well in advance so that you can take action. So things like notification timelines, where you can specify how long before the renewal date you want the contract, you want the notifications to be created. Automatic renewal process, so if a contract is tagged for automatic renewal, you still get notified that a contract is coming up for renewal, but if you don't take any action, the contract automatically gets approved, gets renewed, and the effective dates and renewal dates get updated. The other aspect is, how do you rack and stack your contracts? How do you categorize them? So contract types are important, contract categories, as well as you might want to associate contracts to specific regional locations. So we provide you with the ability to do that, and we also provide you with the ability to have a separate kind of place where you can do some research-related activities like searching of contracts and filtering out contracts and look for the contracts that you're looking for. Maybe because you want to create a new contract from a previous one, or you want to create an amendment to a contract, and so on. So this screen basically shows a few other aspects of the process that's involved around contract management. So this is around contract workflows. So we actually have two separate processes running on a contract. One is when a contract is submitted or modified, a workflow kicks off, and the other is when a contract comes up for renewal. So there is actually a job that keeps track of all the contracts, and when the renewal date is closing in, based on the notification timeline, it kicks off another workflow and notifies the appropriate people of being able to take the right action. Another aspect is the electronic signatures piece. When a contract is being executed, you need signs and countersigns and things like that. And we actually interface with DocuSign. Actually, SharePoint interfaces with DocuSign. We don't specifically provide a solution around electronic signatures. It's usually a third-party tool like DocuSign or EchoSign from Adobe that you can leverage in addition to SharePoint, to manage electronic signatures. Finally, the reporting. So we do provide some visual dashboards. I'll cover this in brief today. So let's actually dive into the demo now. I'm going to switch my screens and open up the contract management dashboard. So I see some of you do use SharePoint currently to store contracts or related documents. And so what I want to kind of step through here is how you can bring all those different pieces that we were talking about around contracts in one single site or solution, and provide your users with that one place so that they can manage their contracts. So what you're seeing here is actually a contract management dashboard. So I basically clicked on my dashboard here. I'll step through the menu first, and then we'll go through the specifics of the solution itself. So what I have here from a high level left to right perspective is action and command. So this is where you come in to add an ad hoc task outside of your workflow, or add a reminder saying that you got a notification from the system saying that this particular contract is up for renewal, you want to create a reminder for yourself, you can use SharePoint to actually create a reminder. And there's actually a workflow that kicks off around reminders as well. So if you create a reminder, you can define, when you want to get notified and how many times you want to get notified too. One of the things I usually bring up when I talk about notifications and alerts is that sometimes it becomes too overwhelming to actually receive a lot of emails from the system. So although we have a lot of workflows running in the background and all of them pretty much send out emails and notify you from time to time, we do give you the ability or flexibility to define how often do you want to get notified and how much you want to get notified. So you can also define things like max number of reminders you want to set up, either when a task is overdue or even when you set up reminders. So going through the actions and commands menu, you can add tasks and reminders outside of the automated workflow process and have SharePoint actually reach out to you and notify you or through email. You can submit a contract or add supporting documents through contracts. We do provide the ability to group supporting documents together in what is called document sets so that they can remain in one area, and you can tag all the documents together. So you don't have to provide metadata individually for each document. And then you can relate that supporting document with or document set with a contract, so all those documents stay together. We also have like I mentioned about clauses, so you can manage your clauses in SharePoint as well, and through Microsoft Office. You can create contract entities. And the way we kind of support contract entities is through a contract entity type, so you can use the same repository to store information about your suppliers, your vendors, your customers, and so on. Whoever is you're generating or creating contracts with in one area, and then associated contracts with your contract entity. The next and the most important piece from a day-to-day perspective of how you work with this portal is your My Dashboard piece. So the My Dashboard link actually gets you to this page that you're looking at, and let me actually zoom out a little bit so you can actually see the whole screen. There's a lot of information here, but we try to keep it as simple as possible. So your active tasks are front and center. That's where all your tasks, notifications from your automated approval process for contracts are going to get listed out. And you will also have visual indication of things that are either overdue or coming up pretty soon for action. So these are task dates, not contract dates. Below that are all your pending contracts. So these contracts are ones that you created but have not yet been executed. And so it gives you a summary of all those contracts, the contract types, and the effective dates for all those contracts. And in a little bit, I'll show you the more detailed view of the contracts and what other information you can store with contracts. On the right-hand side, you've got My Assignments. This is a way for a manager or a department head to actually assign specific tasks that are kind of indirectly related to contract management to people. So this is actually a more management-related task where a manager would come in, and if they want to assign specific tasks to certain people in their department, they would go ahead and assign those tasks. So when tasks get assigned to you, that's the area where they get listed out. You will see this little icon that's the kind of two arrows going in a circle, and that's the recurrence. So if a particular assignment is recurring, for instance, I just have an example here. some corporate policy around corporate card agreements. They have to be renewed every year. So instead of a manager setting up a reminder for that person every year, they can set up a recurring assignment or a task wherein they can specify that this task would occur every year and needs to be acted on within 30 days of being assigned. And then there's a workflow that runs behind the scenes to make sure that the person is notified appropriately and any overdue tasks get notified as well to the user. Right below that is the My Reminders place where you can add your to-dos and reminders. Again, there's a workflow associated with that. And it's a very simple workflow, both the My Assignments and My Reminders piece, where all it's doing is keeping track of when to notify the person and in what frequency. So for instance, if I zoom in a little bit here, you can see that this is someone needs to review a medical device contract for a company, and they've set up a notification timeline of 10 days. So before the contract renewal date comes up or the effective date comes up, 10 days before that, this person is going to get notified that they have an action on that contract to be done, and they've set up their reminder frequency of once a week. So they're going to get notified basically once before the renewal comes up for that contract. So this is a manual process of setting up the reminder. The automated tasks actually are listed down here under My Active Tasks. The reminders and assignments are more manual and ad hoc. And the reason for this is many of our clients wanted more control over certain aspects of their contract management process. And they wanted to be able to ad hocly create reminders for themselves or for others and to be able to assign tasks to others. Down below, you see the upcoming 30-day renewal. So this will filter out any contracts that are in the process, have not been executed, and their renewal date is coming up within the next 30 days. We also track 90 days and 60 days. I'll show you the views for that shortly. So this is your My dashboard. You can get down to specific artifacts right from this screen by clicking on My Active Tasks or My Pending Contracts, and it'll take you to the document library where all these are stored, or you can use the menu up top to actually navigate to that. On the menu, you also see My Delegate Settings, and that's where you would define, if you're going out of the office, you can set up your delegates before you leave, so that any tasks that are going to come up are going to get assigned to you, get assigned to the delegate. Now, we also simultaneously notify the primary responsible person as well, but the tasks are actually assigned to the delegate to complete. So we actually create two parallel tasks. So once the delegate completes the task actually goes away from your active list. The view and find area is really to be able to search for information inside your portal. So whether you want to search for contracts, filter out and research on contracts that are already there in your system, or maybe you want to look at a specific contract entity and all the documents related to that contract entity. And then, like I said, you can manage your workflows more dynamically in the sense of how you route your contracts through the system. And the Power BI module is really the reporting module that we have right now, where we actually feed the list data from SharePoint into Excel and then feed it into Power BI so that you can run natural language queries against your data to figure out certain aspects of or do analytics on your data. So let's start actually by going through a submission contract process, and then we'll step through the search and finding of contracts and some of the reports. Before I go there, one of the beta features that we're actually trying to release in the near future is the contract management dashboard, and I actually included a screenshot of that in the presentation as well. But this is basically, so our whole concept is that how can we leverage, existing tools that you already licensed and used in your organization. So a lot of this is built out of the box with SharePoint, with custom features like workflows and things like that are custom, but most of the stuff is out of the box. And we use a lot of the Office products to provide you with the dashboarding capability. So that's taking a little bit of time. This is all in the cloud, by the way, so sometimes internet connectivity is kind of a bane. But so this is basically the contract management dashboard that we're currently in the works. So there are different elements to it. We have a section for overall compliance, and it's basically it's based on certain thresholds that you might want to measure. In this case, we are measuring overdue renewals. So how long does it take for renewals to happen in the organization, and what's the average time it's taking for contracts right now? So, for instance, the threshold might be 50 days to the contract renewal from today, and over time, the average contract renewal cycle is about 15 days from the time the process starts. So you're well within your threshold. Another important factor could be average time to execute from the time a contract is submitted to when it goes into the execution state, or number of unexecuted contracts. So maybe their contracts start you start the process of submission, but they get hung up either in compliance or legal or some other department. So you want to know why are these contracts unexecuted? So a data point for further research. So this report is really to give you a very high-level view of what's going on in your contract management portal. Another interesting aspect is the regional selection, is where you can actually provide location-based information on your contracts. So you can click on any one of these dots, and it actually provides you with a more detailed information about the contract. So I can click on that dot there, and it actually gives me a lot more information about specific information about what's going on in that particular region. So going back to the portal, the contract management dashboard portal for a second, the heaps over here from renewal perspective, you can actually click on any one of these and actually go to the list of contracts that are out. So for instance, 90-day contracts, you can click over here and look at all your 90-day contracts that are up for renewal. The data that's being fed over here is actually from our from another portal, so you see a lot bigger numbers here than are available in this demo portal. But so I clicked on the 30-day renewals, and I'm now on the contract repository where I can see all my contracts, and I can see only my 30-day renewals. If I wanted to see all the contracts that I'm responsible for, irrespective of the renewal date, I click on my contracts, and it actually gives me a list of all the contracts. And you can see where they are in the contract workflow process. So some are under legal review, some are under compliance review, and some are executed. Let's actually upload a document and walk through the process of notifications and workflow. So I'm just going to select a sample demo contract here, which is basically, I'm going to select this Cisco Systems Annual Service Contract and go ahead and upload that. And, if you have a contract numbering system, you can actually provide a contract numbering system. I'm just going to make one up. I'm going to say this is for ITS 001 004. The contract entity in this case is Cisco Systems, so I'm going to select that from the list. The effective date for this contract, I'll say 3/31, and the renewal date for this contract is 3/27. I want to get notified at least 10 days before the start of this contract so I can act on it. I want automatic renewals moving forward. And I can define contract type. So what we usually do as part of deploying the solution is actually come in and work with you on creating the right taxonomy. So this is actually a taxonomy of all the contract agreements in our store, but we usually work with you to come up with a more appropriate list. So I'm going to say engineering consulting agreement, a contract value of 1.2 mil in US dollars currency, and you can associate an affiliated location. So I can either start typing in which case it will give me, so I'm going to say United States. I'm just going to assign myself so I get notified. And compliance members, I'm going to say myself. I can put some comments. I can go ahead and save this document. As you can see, this document is now saved. It's in draft state. I can edit it before I publish it. So I'm going to edit it one more time. I made a mistake, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to click on edit. And actually, it's, I forgot one more zero here, so I'm going to go ahead and put that 0. I'm going to save that document. Okay, now in a little bit, I'm going to start getting notified of that this contract has been uploaded and published, and it's going to go through the normal workflow process. So I'm going to just wait for a second while it's actually going through. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So as you can see, the first stage here, it says contract workflows compliance review. And I actually should have gotten an email. So let me actually go here and show you my email window. So I actually created for this demo purpose a few rules. So the first thing is that the contract owner is going to get notified and that their contract has been submitted for review. So it says the following contract has been submitted to the compliance department for review. You'll be notified when the contract has been reviewed. And if you see, I'm also in the compliance review section. So the Cisco Systems annual services contract, so it says a new contract review task has been assigned. This is the document, and click here to open the task and act on it. So what I'll do is I'm going to open up this task from my email because that's how the users are going to respond to it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and it actually takes me to the contract task window. So here I can see there's a description, there's the related contract. So if I actually want to open it, I just click it, and I can look at the contract, although this is not a Cisco contract, but I'll just pretend that it is. Now, before I act on it, maybe I want to change a few things on this contract. So I can do one of two things. I can go to the contracts library, or I can click on the email, which will take me to the contract itself. I can look at some of the data here, and I wanted to change something. Just take a look at it. Everything looks good, so I'm just going to go ahead and approve this. So the way you approve it is you would go back to the task and you would say approved. Okay. And it takes me back to my task list. I know I have a lot of tasks here that I need to work on, and you can work similarly on all the other tasks. So I have tasks from other contracts that I was testing on before that I could act on as well. So I could click here, say rejected, and basically the rejected item will go back to the person, to the owner, and in reality, the person who's rejecting it would have to select a reject reason or put a comment in there why they're rejecting it, and so on and so forth. So I'll come back here on the notifications piece. So this was contract. Yeah, so there it is, legal notifications. So before I actually show you the one here, let me actually go back to the Contract Management Center and go to my contracts and show you that this contract has actually gone under legal review. So if I actually click on this workflow link here, it'll give me a more detailed view into what is going on with the contract. So from an administration perspective, I might want to look at the workflow history of what's gone through. In a lot of our reportings, we actually take into account these times and calculate, how long it took from one department to another as well to provide you with the threshold values. But as you can see, there's also a task that's been assigned here that's not been started. So I'll go back to my email, and I'm going to look at the Cisco System Annual Services Contract. It says a new contract review task has been assigned, and there's the contract document. So if I want to take a look at that, I can click on that. It takes me to my contract. And if I want to work on the task, I can click on Open Task, and it takes me to the task link. Again, I can go ahead and click on Approve. Again, the question is that can you customize these buttons here instead of just approved or rejected? Can you have more, like canceled or revised and things like that? And the answer is yes, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and approve this task so I can step through the whole process here. And I'm going to go back to my workflow, to my document library, and I just want to show one last thing here before I go back here. So it takes a little bit of time sometimes to go through, but as you can see, the status has now changed for counterparty or review signatures. And I'm not going to wait for this workflow to go through the whole process, but I did want to show you that once you have reached the contract counterparty review and signature, you can actually use DocuSign right here to sign the document. You can prepare the document for signature or sign the document for signature. So if I want this document to actually be prepared for the signature, I'm going to go ahead and log into DocuSign with my Office 365 account. And what it will do is actually take that document from SharePoint and display it in DocuSign. There it goes. So I can prepare this document for signature. So I'm going to say, add me to the recipient, done. And then I can say, well, I scroll down to the document. I say, well, I want somebody to put the signature here and initial over here. And I can add other fields as well, like the company name as well. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say send. And now I'm going to get an email from DocuSign that there's a document available for signature. Okay. Continue. And because it was me, when I click over here, it's already got my signature in there. So it puts my signature in there. I put my initial and the company name, and I click Finish. What DocuSign will do is actually put the signed document under the same library. So after a certain time, that signed document will actually show up here. This is actually one of the previous signed documents I had. It actually has a signature page with my signature and date and time and so on. So I wanted to quickly just recap the contracts area. So we talked about the contracts. We walked through a contracts upload process. Like I said, there's a lot of moving parts here to this portal, and I would love to do, we would love to do a more detailed demo for you if you're interested, and look at the reports and workflows in more detail. Let me jump back to the slide deck here. So we talked about contract types, the taxonomy, how we store data, how we categorize the data, and so on. We usually work with our clients to create the appropriate taxonomy for them. But like I said, the routing right now is more manual, so you have to actually define how you want to route your workflow through. I just showed you a very simple example of moving through 3 departments. But what's coming up in the roadmap is actually rule-based routing, so you can actually create rules for certain contract types to follow a certain pathway, if you will, and that would actually allow you to route your contracts better. We're also working on some dashboard and KPIs to provide more in-depth reporting, and it talks about natural language queries, so that you can just type in, provide me with all contracts for this region, and it'll give you a report. And then clauses through the Word app, so you can actually open Word and drag and drop clauses from SharePoint into your document.